So what about HIIT training? Is it all it's made up to be? So the idea is that I've got limited time and I want to make the most of my training in that time. So what I'm going to do, whether it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, is I'm going to train at high intensity to try and get the most out of that time, get my cardio high, work the muscles hard. Sounds great, doesn't it? Making the most of what we've got, the little time that we've got. There is a problem, however. Let's think about what's going to happen to the muscles. Okay, here's my favourite demonstration of muscles. It's my spaghetti strands. Now have a close look. Look at those lovely strands all running in line. What you have to remember with muscle is that it's not just one strand, it's a series of strands within strands within strands, and in between these strands run the nerves as well. So what we can see basically is that with our strands of spaghetti, we've got these muscle fibres all running in a nice line, acting as they should in the muscle. But when things go wrong, they start to twist and they start to break. If 70% or less of these fibres break, the good news is you can fix it through muscle rehabilitation. If it's over 70%, you're probably going to need surgery. Remember, if you get a hematoma, you must always get medical advice to make sure that you're not going to get a blood clot. Now let's look at muscle that is properly warmed up. Here's one I made earlier. This is my spaghetti after it's been in very hot water. So it's equivalent to us warming up, and look what happens now. It extends and contracts just as it's supposed to do. Now that's really important because we're not going to tear the muscle fibres, but also you've got to bear in mind that on the end of these strands we've got tendons that attach to the bone. If the muscle gets too tight, it pulls too hard on the tendon, and then we get inflammation around the joint. Okay, so we've left our muscle or our spaghetti strands in warm water for a couple of minutes. So this is as if we've been warming up just for a very short period of time. Notice first of all that the water's gone cloudy. That's because the spaghetti has released starch molecules into the water. Starch is a complex carbohydrate, which is basically a series of sugar molecules which are all bound together, and of course they're great for producing energy. So this is like our blood actually when we've warmed up properly, or when we're starting to warm up properly, in that the nutrients are being broken down so it can give our body the chemicals and the energy it needs to perform the tasks we want it to perform. You can see that the muscle fibres are slightly more pliable. However, if I started training a little bit harder, again, we start to get the breaks in the muscle fibres. Now let me just show you something very interesting. I want you to imagine it's a freezing cold day and we haven't really warmed up effectively. I'm going to put this spaghetti in the cold water for literally seconds. Now look at the difference. Hardly any pressure at all, and virtually all of the fibres are breaking. And this is the danger you have carrying out any intense training when the muscle is cold, or when you've warmed up and you've let it get cold again. Here's the damage you're going to do. So what have we learned from this? Well, HIIT training without warming up is disastrous. Not warming up properly is semi-disastrous. So what do? We have limited time. So I've got a 15-minute run. I spend 5 minutes jogging really slowly, letting the blood get into my muscle, letting the muscles warm up. And then the next 5 minutes, I gradually pick the pace up each minute, maybe for the next 6 or 7 minutes. And then for the last 3 minutes, I'm going to jog really slowly, just bring my heart rate down. Now remember, you can do an awful lot of hard training within 5 to 7 minutes. But it's going to be better quality if the muscle is warmed up. You're going to get better range of motion, and most importantly, you're not going to damage the muscle, and you're not going to put the heart muscle under too much strain either.